Commander Marcus Chen stared out the window of the transport ship as it approached the planet Zephyria. The world below looked like a giant blue jewel covered in glowing spots of light. Those lights were cities, but not like any cities on Earth. These were made of living crystal that grew from the ground like magical trees. Marcus touched the diplomatic badge on his chest. He was nervous, but he had been in tough situations before. This mission was different, though. It was not about fighting enemies or exploring new worlds. This time he had to convince an alien queen to help save humanity. "Sir, we will land in 10 minutes, said Lieutenant Sarah Kim, his communications officer. She looked as nervous as Marcus felt. Behind her sat Dr. James Wright, the team's scientist, and Captain Elena Rodriguez, their security chief. They were Earth's best hope for getting the medicine that could save millions of human lives. The plague had started on the outer colonies 6 months ago. It killed quickly and spread fast. Human doctors could not find a cure, but intelligence reports said the Zephyrians had amazing medical technology. They could cure diseases that humans thought were impossible to fix. The ship landed with a soft bump on a crystal platform that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Marcus looked outside and saw his first real Zephyrian. The alien was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of clear blue glass. Light seemed to move under the surface like water. The Zephyrian wore flowing robes that changed color as it moved. "Welcome to Ethros," the Zephyrian said when Marcus and his team stepped off the ship. Its voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am Ambassador Cathara. Queen Lysera waits for you in the royal palace." Marcus had studied Zephyrian culture for months, but seeing their city in person was amazing. Towers of crystal reached toward the sky, some so tall they disappeared into the clouds. The buildings were alive, growing and changing shape slowly. Streets were made of smooth crystal that glowed with soft light. Flying vehicles moved between the towers like schools of fish. The Zephyrians they passed on the street stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others seemed unfriendly. Marcus could feel their eyes following his team as they walked through the city. "Many of my people have never seen humans before," Ambassador Cathara explained. "Some believe you are too different from us to be trusted." "We just want to help our people," Marcus said. "We are not here to cause trouble." "I know this," Cathara replied, "but not everyone agrees with Queen Lysera's decision to meet with you." The royal palace was the most beautiful building Marcus had ever seen. It was a massive crystal structure that changed colors like a rainbow. Inside, the walls showed moving pictures of Zephyrian history. Marcus saw images of their ancestors building the first crystal cities and fighting wars against creatures from space. They walked through halls filled with other Zephyrians who wore fancy clothes covered in jewels. These must be the nobles that Cathara had told them about. Many of them watched the humans with cold eyes. "The nobles think we should not help humans," Cathara whispered to Marcus. "They say humans are too young as a species. They think you will become dangerous if you grow too powerful." Finally, they reached the throne room. It was a huge space with a crystal ceiling that showed the stars above. In the center, on a throne that looked like it was carved from a single giant diamond, sat Queen Lysera. Marcus had seen pictures of her, but they did not show how beautiful she really was. Her skin was like white crystal with silver light moving underneath. Her hair looked like spun glass and moved as if underwater. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean water. She wore a crown made of living crystal that grew small flowers. "Commander Chen," Queen Lysera said, standing up from her throne. Her voice was musical and strong. "Welcome to Zephyria. I have heard much about your people and your need for our help." Marcus bowed the way he had been taught. "Your Majesty, thank you for seeing us. Our people are dying, and we have nowhere else to turn." Queen Lysera walked down from her throne to stand in front of Marcus. She was taller than him, like most Zephyrians. "Tell me about this plague that kills your people." Dr. Wright stepped forward and explained about the disease. He showed holographic images of the plague and how it spread. Queen Lysera listened carefully, asking smart questions that showed she understood the science. "This disease is indeed terrible," she said when Dr. Wright finished. "Our medical technology could help your people, but many of my advisors believe it would be dangerous to share our secrets with humans." "Why do they think we are dangerous?" Marcus asked. An old Zephyrian noble stepped forward. His crystal skin was darker than the others, and his eyes were cold. "Because humans fight wars among themselves. Because you destroy your own planet. Because you spread across space like a virus, taking what you want. Duke Vorthak speaks for many in our government." Queen Lysara said softly. They remember what happened to other species who shared technology with younger races. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. We have made mistakes, but we are learning. We came here asking for help, not demanding it. We offer fair trade, not threats. Queen Lysara studied Marcus for a long moment. You speak with honor, Commander. But words are easy. How do I know humans can be trusted? Give us a chance to prove it, Marcus said. Let us show you that humans can be good allies. Duke Vorthak made a sound that might have been a laugh. Prove it? How can such a young species prove anything to us? We have built civilization for thousands of years while your people were still learning to make fire. Maybe being young means we see things differently, Marcus replied. Maybe we can offer ideas that you have not thought of. Queen Lysara looked interested. What kind of ideas? Marcus thought quickly. We read that your people have trouble growing food on some of your colony worlds. Humans are good at adapting to new places. We could share our farming techniques. Interesting, Queen Lysara said. Continue. Your ships are fast, but ours are better at long-distance travel. Your medicine is advanced, but our surgery techniques might be helpful. We both have things to offer. For the first time, Queen Lysara smiled. You make a good argument, Commander. I will consider your request. Tonight there will be a ceremony in the royal gardens. We will discuss trade possibilities. As Marcus and his team were led away to their guest rooms, he felt hopeful for the first time in months. But he also noticed how Duke Vorthak watched them leave. The old noble's eyes were full of hatred. That night, as Marcus looked out his window at the crystal city below, he wondered if words would be enough to save his people. He had a feeling that the real test was still coming. The next morning, Marcus woke up to the sound of crystal chimes ringing across the city. Today was the ceremony where Queen Lysara would announce her decision about helping humanity. Marcus put on his best uniform and made sure his diplomatic badge was straight. The royal gardens were even more amazing than the palace. Trees made of living crystal grew in perfect rows, their branches sparkling in the morning light. Flowers that looked like tiny diamonds bloomed everywhere. A small river of liquid crystal flowed through the middle of the garden, making musical sounds as it moved. Hundreds of Zephyrians had come to watch the ceremony. They wore their finest clothes, covered in jewels that caught the light. Marcus saw nobles, common citizens, and even some Zephyrian children hiding behind their parents to get a better look at the humans. Stay close to me, Captain Rodriguez whispered to the team. I do not like how some of these people are looking at us. Marcus nodded. He had noticed the unfriendly stares too. Many Zephyrians seemed angry that humans were even allowed in their sacred gardens. Queen Lysara appeared at the top of a crystal platform that grew from the ground like a flower opening. She wore a beautiful dress that seemed to be made of water and light. Her crown sparkled with so many jewels that it hurt to look at directly. My people, Queen Lysara said, her voice carrying clearly across the garden. Today we decide the future of Zephyria. These humans have come to us asking for help. They offer trade and friendship in return. Some Zephyrians clapped, but others made angry sounds. Marcus could see the crowd was divided. About half seemed to support their queen, while the others looked unhappy. Duke Vorthak stepped onto the platform next to Queen Lysara. Your Majesty, he said in a loud voice, many of us believe this is a mistake. Humans are dangerous. They will use our technology to make weapons and war. That is your opinion, Uncle, Queen Lysara replied. Duke Vorthak was her uncle, Marcus realized. That made the politics even more complicated. It is not just my opinion, Duke Vorthak said. Look at their history. Humans fight among themselves constantly. They destroy their environment. They are not ready for our advanced technology. Queen Lysara turned to look at Marcus. Commander Chen, how do you answer these charges? Marcus stepped forward. He felt hundreds of alien eyes watching him. Your Majesty, we have made mistakes, but we have also learned from them. We came here not with weapons, but with open hands. We ask for help and we offer friendship in return. Pretty words, Duke Vorthak said coldly, but words mean nothing. Actions show truth. Then judge us by our actions, Marcus said. Give us a chance to prove that humans can be trusted allies. Queen Lysara nodded slowly. I have decided to begin small trade discussions with Earth. We will share some basic medical knowledge in exchange for human farming techniques. About half the crowd cheered. The other half looked angry. Duke Vorthak's face showed no emotion, but Marcus saw his hands clench into fists. Queen Lysera raised her hand for silence. This decision is final. We will start with small steps and see how both our peoples benefit. She began to walk down from the platform to greet the human delegation personally. This was a great honor in Zephyrian culture. Marcus felt proud that his mission was succeeding. But something was wrong. Marcus's military training had taught him to always watch for danger. Years of fighting space pirates had made his instincts sharp. Right now, those instincts were screaming at him. He looked around the garden carefully. Most Zephyrians were watching Queen Lysera, but Marcus noticed one figure standing alone near the old memorial grove at the edge of the garden. The figure was wearing a hooded robe and standing very still, too still. Marcus's eyes focused on the figure. Something glinted in the shadows under the hood. Metal. The shape of a weapon. Marcus looked more carefully and saw it clearly. A Zephyrian crystal bow, the kind used in their ancient hunting traditions. An arrow was already fitted to the string, and the bow was aimed directly at Queen Lysera. Everything seemed to slow down. Queen Lysera was walking toward Marcus, smiling and raising her hand in greeting. The crowd was cheering. No one else had noticed the danger. Marcus did not think. He just moved. He ran toward Queen Lysera as fast as he could. Behind him, he heard Captain Rodriguez shout his name. The crowd gasped as Marcus pushed through them. Queen Lysera saw him coming and looked confused. "Commander, what are you—" Marcus tackled her to the ground just as he heard the whistle of an arrow flying through the air. The arrow passed through the space where Queen Lysera's head had been just a second before. It hit a crystal pillar behind them with a loud crack. Guards rushed toward them from all directions. Queen Lysera was on the ground under Marcus, looking shocked but unhurt. Marcus rolled off her quickly and pointed toward the memorial grove. There, the archer! But the hooded figure was gone. Marcus saw only empty space where the assassin had been standing. Zephyrian guards surrounded Marcus and Queen Lysera. Captain Rodriguez and the rest of the human team pushed through the crowd to reach them. "Are you hurt, Your Majesty?" Marcus asked, helping Queen Lysera to her feet. "I am fine," she said, but her voice was shaking. "You saved my life." One of the guards had reached the crystal pillar where the arrow had hit. "Your Majesty, you need to see this," he called. They walked over to look at the arrow. It was made of traditional Zephyrian crystal, but the arrowhead was covered with a purple substance that glowed with an evil light. Dr. Wright pulled out his medical scanner and pointed it at the arrow. His face went pale when he read the results. "That is synthetic xerathine," he said quietly. "It is a poison made specifically to kill Zephyrians. Very deadly and very illegal." The crowd had heard this and began to panic. Voices rose in anger and fear. Some Zephyrians were pointing at the humans and shouting. "The humans did this," someone yelled. "They tried to kill our queen." "No!" Queen Lysera said loudly. "Commander Chen saved my life. He could not have been the assassin." But doubt was spreading through the crowd like fire. Marcus saw angry faces looking at his team. Some guards were moving to surround the humans. Duke Vorthak appeared at Queen Lysera's side. "My dear niece," he said, "this proves that dealing with humans brings only danger. Someone wanted you dead because you chose to help them." "That makes no sense," Queen Lysera said. "Why would anyone who wanted me dead also save my life?" "Perhaps it was planned this way," Duke Vorthak suggested. "Make the humans look like heroes while hiding their true purpose." Marcus felt anger burning in his chest. This was clearly a setup, and Duke Vorthak was using it to destroy the alliance before it could begin. "Your Majesty," Marcus said, "I request permission to help investigate this attack. My team has experience with criminal investigations." "Absolutely not," Duke Vorthak said quickly. "The humans cannot be trusted to investigate their own crime." Queen Lysera looked back and forth between Marcus and her uncle. Marcus could see her trying to decide who to trust. "The humans will return to their guest quarters under guard," she finally said. "I will investigate this myself." As Zephyrian guards led Marcus and his team away, he looked back at Queen Lysera. She was staring at the poisoned arrow with a thoughtful expression. Marcus hoped she would figure out who really wanted her dead, because if she did not, the alliance between humans and Zephyrians would die before it ever really began, and millions of humans would die with it. Marcus paced back and forth in the guest quarters where he and his team were being held under guard. 2 Zephyrian soldiers stood by the door, their crystal weapons ready. Through the window he could see the city of Ethros continuing its normal life, but everything felt different now. "Sir, this is clearly a setup." Captain Rodriguez said quietly. Someone wants to blame us for the assassination attempt. I know, Marcus replied. But we need proof. Dr. Wright was sitting at a table studying his scanner readings from the poisoned arrow. That synthetic xerathine is very advanced, he said. It would take years of research to develop, and it is made specifically to kill Zephyrians, not humans. Lieutenant Kim was monitoring Zephyrian communications on her equipment. Sir, the news is spreading fast. Half the planet thinks we tried to kill Queen Lysara. The other half thinks she is a fool for trusting humans. Marcus felt frustrated. His mission to save humanity was falling apart, and there was nothing he could do from this room. A soft chime sounded at the door. One of the guards spoke in the Zephyrian language, then stepped aside. Queen Lysara entered the room alone. Your Majesty, Marcus said, standing up quickly. Are you safe? You should not be here without more guards. Queen Lysara wore a simple dress now instead of her ceremonial robes. She looked tired but determined. I dismissed my guards. I needed to speak with you privately. She walked to the window and looked out at her city. Tell me exactly what you saw in the garden. Marcus described everything he remembered about the hooded figure with the bow. Queen Lysara listened carefully, asking questions about details. You have good eyes and quick reflexes, she said when he finished. A slower person would not have saved me. Any soldier would have done the same thing, Marcus said. Queen Lysara turned to look at him. Would they? Even knowing it might make them look guilty? Even knowing it could destroy their mission? Marcus had not thought about that. I just reacted. I could not let you die. Why? Queen Lysara asked. You barely know me. We are different species. Some of your own people probably think I am just an alien. Marcus considered the question seriously. Because you were willing to help my people when no one else would. Because you listened to us with an open mind. Because... He paused, not sure how to explain it. Because I believe you are a good person, and good people should not die because of politics. Queen Lysara smiled for the first time since the attack. You are not what I expected from a human military officer. What did you expect? Someone more aggressive, more interested in taking what he wanted by force, but you ask politely and risk your life to save others. Dr. Wright cleared his throat. Your Majesty, if I may ask, what did your investigation find? Queen Lysara's expression became serious again. The arrow was made by a master craftsman. Only a few people on Zephyria have that skill. The poison was stolen from a government laboratory 3 days ago, and the memorial grove where the archer stood has a hidden passage that leads to the old city tunnels. So the assassin knew the palace well, Marcus said. Yes, this was not done by an outsider. Queen Lysara paused. I believe someone in my own government wants me dead. Captain Rodriguez spoke up. Your Majesty, if someone in your government is involved, you are still in danger. I know. That is why I came here secretly. I need help to investigate further, and I cannot trust my regular advisors. Marcus looked at his team. They were all thinking the same thing. You want us to help you find the real assassin? Yes. Your Dr. Wright knows about the poison. Your Captain Rodriguez understands military tactics. And you... Queen Lysara looked directly at Marcus. You have proven that you will protect me even at cost to yourself. Your Majesty, this could be very dangerous, Marcus said. If we are caught investigating, it will look even worse for humans. Then we must not be caught. Queen Lysara walked to a crystal panel on the wall and touched it with her hand. A hidden door opened. The palace has many secret passages. My ancestors built them in case of war. Dr. Wright stood up excitedly. We can analyze the poison more carefully if we can get to a proper laboratory. I know where we can work safely, Queen Lysara said. But first, I want to show you something that might help you understand my people better. She led them through the hidden passage behind the wall. It was narrow and dark, lit only by small crystal lights. They walked for what felt like a long time, going deeper underground. Where are we going? Lieutenant Kim asked. To the heart of our civilization, Queen Lysara replied. They came out in a huge underground cavern filled with massive crystals that glowed with soft blue light. The crystals were alive, growing slowly and pulsing like heartbeats. The air hummed with energy. These are the mother crystals, Queen Lysara explained. All of our technology comes from them. Our buildings, our vehicles, our weapons, even our bodies are connected to them. Marcus reached out to touch one of the crystals and felt a warm tingling in his fingers. They are alive? In a way, yes. They have been growing for millions of years. They store knowledge and energy. When a Zephyrian dies, their memories join with the crystals. Dr. Wright was scanning the crystals with his equipment. The energy readings are incredible. This could revolutionize human technology. This is why many of my people fear sharing our knowledge, Queen Lysera said. If the wrong people learned about the mother crystals, they could use them to build terrible weapons. Marcus understood now. You are not just deciding whether to trust humans with medicine. You are deciding whether to trust us with the source of your entire civilization. Exactly. And someone is trying to kill me to prevent that trust from forming. They walked deeper into the cavern, following paths between the giant crystals. Queen Lysara told them about Zephyrian history and culture. Marcus found himself fascinated by her stories about the early crystal builders and the wars against space raiders. Your people have survived a lot, he said. Yes, but always by being careful about who we trust. Perhaps too careful. Queen Lysera stopped walking and turned to face Marcus. Tell me about human culture. What makes your people worth saving? Marcus thought about all the things he loved about humanity. We do not give up. Even when things look impossible, humans find a way to keep fighting. We take care of each other, even strangers, and we always try to learn and grow even from our mistakes. Those are good qualities, Queen Lysara said softly. They reached a laboratory built into the crystal cavern walls. Dr. Wright immediately began setting up equipment to analyze the poison. While he worked, Queen Lysara showed Marcus how Zephyrian crystal technology functioned. Your mind is quick, she said as Marcus learned to operate a crystal scanner. Most humans would take weeks to understand this. Most Zephyrians would probably learn human technology just as fast, Marcus replied. Queen Lysera smiled. Perhaps. We may have more in common than either of our peoples realize. As they worked together, Marcus found himself enjoying Queen Lysara's company. She was intelligent and funny, and she asked interesting questions about human customs. When she laughed at his stories about military life, her whole face lit up like crystal in sunlight. Sir, Dr. Wright called from his equipment, I found something important. This poison was not just made to kill Zephyrians. It was made to kill one specific Zephyrian. Queen Lysera and Marcus hurried over to look at Dr. Wright's analysis. See these molecular markers? Dr. Wright pointed to his scanner display. The poison is designed to react with Queen Lysera's specific genetic pattern. It would not work on any other Zephyrian. That means whoever made it had access to my medical records, Queen Lysera said grimly. It also means this was planned for a long time, Marcus added. Someone has been preparing to kill you specifically. Queen Lysara was quiet for a moment. My uncle Vorthak has access to my medical records. So do several other nobles and the royal doctors. We need more evidence before we can accuse anyone, Captain Rodriguez said. I know where we might find it, Queen Lysara said, but it will be dangerous. We would have to break into the old records vault beneath the noble quarter. Marcus looked at his team. They had come to Zephyria to save human lives. Now they were risking everything to save one alien queen, but somehow it felt like the right thing to do. When do we start? He asked. Queen Lysara's eyes sparkled with determination. Tonight, when the nobles are asleep and the guards are fewer. Are you ready to become criminals for the sake of justice? Marcus smiled grimly. We have been called worse things. The noble quarter of Ethros looked different at night. The crystal buildings glowed softly in the darkness, and flying vehicles moved like fireflies between the towers. Marcus and his team followed Queen Lysara through narrow alleys between the grand mansions, where the most important Zephyrians lived. The records vault is beneath Duke Vorthak's estate, Queen Lysara whispered as they crept through the shadows. It contains financial records, communication logs, and security files for all the noble families. Captain Rodriguez checked her equipment. My scanners show 6 guards around the building and 2 more inside. I can handle the security systems, Lieutenant Kim said quietly. Zephyrian technology is advanced, but the basic principles are similar to human computers. Dr. Wright carried a bag of analysis equipment. If we can find records of poison purchases or communication with off-world contacts, we can prove who is behind the assassination attempt. They reached the outer wall of Duke Vorthak's estate. It was made of black crystal that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Queen Lysara placed her hand on a hidden panel, and a section of the wall became transparent. Royal override codes, she explained. My ancestors built safeguards into all noble estates in case of rebellion. They slipped through the wall into the estate gardens. Marcus could see guards patrolling in the distance, but Queen Lysara led them along paths that stayed hidden in the shadows. The entrance to the records vault was concealed beneath an ornamental fountain. Queen Lysara activated another hidden panel, and the fountain moved aside to reveal a stairway going down into darkness. "Stay close," she whispered. "The vault has automatic defenses." They descended into a chamber filled with crystal storage devices that hummed with energy. Each crystal contained thousands of documents and records. The room was larger than Marcus had expected, with rows of storage crystals stretching into the darkness. "How do we find what we need in all of this?" Marcus asked. Queen Lysara walked to a central control panel. "The crystals are organized by date and type. We need to look for unusual financial transactions, off-world communications, and any references to synthetic xerathine." Lieutenant Kim connected her equipment to the Zephyrian systems. "I can search for keyword patterns across all the stored data. Give me a few minutes." While Kim worked, Marcus and the others spread out to examine the storage crystals manually. Dr. Wright found files related to biological research, while Captain Rodriguez looked for anything about weapons or military equipment. "Sir, I found something," Kim called softly. "There are records of large payments to someone called the Broker over the past 6 months. The payments came from Duke Vorthak's personal accounts." Queen Lysara hurried over to look at Kim's display. "The Broker is a nickname for Zarthul, an off-world criminal who sells illegal weapons and banned technology." "Keep looking," Marcus said. "We need more evidence." Dr. Wright found the next piece of the puzzle. "Here are records of xerathine research from 3 years ago. Someone was trying to develop targeted biological weapons that could kill specific individuals. Who authorized that research?" Queen Lysara asked. "The authorization codes are blocked, but the research was done at a facility owned by—" Dr. Wright paused, checking the data again. "By Duke Vorthak." Captain Rodriguez found communication logs that made the picture even clearer. Duke Vorthak has been in contact with several other noble families and some military commanders. They call themselves the Purity Council, and their goal is to preserve Zephyrian superiority by eliminating weak influences. "Weak influences," Queen Lysara said bitterly. "They mean me and my policies of cooperation with other species." Marcus was examining another set of files when he found something that made his blood run cold. "Queen Lysara, you need to see this." She came over to look at what Marcus had found. It was a detailed plan for what would happen after Queen Lysara's death. Duke Vorthak would become regent, supposedly temporarily. Then he would declare war on humanity, claiming that humans had assassinated their queen. "They planned to frame us from the beginning," Marcus said. "The assassination was just the first step, but the worst part was still to come." According to the files, the Purity Council had already prepared weapons to attack human colonies. They had been planning this for months. They were never going to let the alliance happen, Queen Lysara realized. Even if I had decided not to help humans, they would have found another excuse for war. Lieutenant Kim found more communication records. "Sir, there is something else. Duke Vorthak has been coordinating with other anti-human groups on different planets. This is bigger than just Zephyria. A conspiracy across multiple species," Dr. Wright said grimly. "They want to prevent any cooperation between younger and older civilizations." Queen Lysara was reading through the files with growing anger. "My own uncle has been planning to kill me for months, and he convinced other nobles to help him do it." Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. "We have enough evidence now. We can expose them and stop their plan." "It will not be easy," Queen Lysara said. "These nobles have supporters throughout the government and military. If we accuse them without absolute proof, they will claim we made up the evidence." Captain Rodriguez was monitoring the security systems. "We have another problem. Someone is coming. Multiple vehicles approaching the estate." They quickly copied all the important files to portable storage devices. Kim erased any trace of their presence in the computer systems while the others gathered their equipment. "This way," Queen Lysara said, leading them toward a different exit from the vault. But as they reached the stairs, they heard voices coming from above. Duke Vorthak had returned early from some meeting, and he had brought friends with him. "Hide the evidence," Marcus whispered to his team. "If we are caught, at least the proof will survive." They found an emergency exit that led to the underground crystal caverns. But as they emerged into the main tunnels, more lights appeared ahead of them. They were being surrounded. "Queen Lysara," Duke Vorthak's voice echoed through the tunnels. I know you are down there. Come out and face the consequences of your betrayal. They were trapped between two groups of armed Zephyrians. Marcus counted at least 20 soldiers, all loyal to Duke Vorthak. Your Majesty, Marcus said quietly, we need to get you to safety so you can expose the conspiracy. I will not run from my own uncle, Queen Lysara replied firmly. Then we make our stand here, Marcus said. He turned to his team. Spread out. Protect the Queen and the evidence at all costs. Duke Vorthak appeared at the tunnel entrance with a group of nobles and soldiers. His crystal armor gleamed in the tunnel lights, and he carried an ancient Zephyrian sword. My dear niece, he said coldly, you have caused me a great deal of trouble. I had hoped the assassination would be quick and clean. Now I must deal with you personally. I know about your plan, uncle, Queen Lysara said, stepping forward bravely. I know about the Purity Council and your alliance with off-world criminals. I know you want to start a war with humanity. Duke Vorthak smiled without warmth. Clever girl. Yes, I plan to kill you and blame the humans. But this is even better. Now I can say that you betrayed your own people by working with human spies. The evidence is already safe, Queen Lysara said. Even if you kill us here, the truth will come out. Will it? Duke Vorthak gestured to his soldiers. Who will believe wild stories about noble conspiracies when they see your dead body next to these human criminals? Marcus stepped protectively in front of Queen Lysara. You will have to go through us first. Duke Vorthak laughed. 5 humans against 20 Zephyrian warriors? You are brave but foolish. Maybe, Marcus said, drawing his weapon. But humans do not give up easily. Behind him, his team prepared for battle. They were outnumbered and trapped underground, but they had something worth fighting for. They had the truth and they had each other. Duke Vorthak raised his sword. Kill them all. Make it look like they died fighting each other. But before the battle could begin, Queen Lysara did something unexpected. She activated a communication crystal and spoke in a loud, clear voice that would be heard throughout the capital city. Citizens of Zephyria, she announced, I am Queen Lysara speaking from beneath the city. Duke Vorthak has tried to assassinate me and blame humans for my death. He leads a conspiracy to start an unnecessary war. The evidence of his crimes has been transmitted to the royal archives and cannot be destroyed. Duke Vorthak's face twisted with rage. You foolish child. You have doomed our entire species. No, uncle, Queen Lysara replied sadly. I have saved them from your hatred. The battle was about to begin, but now the whole planet would be watching. The tunnels erupted into chaos as Duke Vorthak's soldiers attacked. Marcus and his team fought desperately to protect Queen Lysara, but they were badly outnumbered. Zephyrian crystal weapons fired beams of energy that could cut through stone, while human plasma rifles answered with bursts of superheated gas. But the battle did not last long. Within minutes, royal guards loyal to Queen Lysara came pouring into the tunnels from both directions. The Queen's public broadcast had reached the palace, and her supporters had mobilized quickly. Duke Vorthak found himself surrounded, his conspiracy exposed to the entire planet. But under ancient Zephyrian law, he had one final option. I demand trial by combat, he shouted over the noise of weapons powering down. By the old ways, I challenge the right of Queen Lysara to rule. The tunnel fell silent. Even Marcus, who did not fully understand Zephyrian customs, could feel the weight of what Duke Vorthak had just done. Queen Lysara's face went pale. You invoke the trial of sovereignty? Here now. It is my right as a member of the royal family, Duke Vorthak replied coldly. Single combat to determine who is worthy to lead our people. If you refuse, you forfeit the throne. Captain Rodriguez leaned close to Marcus. What does this mean? It means they have to fight each other, Marcus whispered back. Winner takes control of the planet. But Queen Lysara shook her head sadly. I cannot accept your challenge, uncle. My left arm was badly injured in a speeder accident 2 years ago. I no longer have the strength to wield traditional weapons effectively. Duke Vorthak smiled with cruel satisfaction. Then you forfeit and I become rightful ruler of Zephyria. Wait, Queen Lysara said firmly. By the same ancient law, I may name a champion to fight in my place. True, Duke Vorthak admitted reluctantly. Choose your champion from among the Zephyrian nobles. Queen Lysara looked around at the gathered Zephyrians. Many of them supported her, but most were scholars, diplomats, or administrators. None looked like they could match Duke Vorthak in combat. Then Queen Lysara did something that shocked everyone present. I choose Commander Marcus Chen of Earth as my champion. The tunnel exploded with voices. Zephyrians shouted in outrage and disbelief. Duke Vorthak's face turned dark with anger. "Impossible," he roared. "The law says you must choose a champion from among your subjects. This human is not a citizen of Zephyria." Queen Lysara stood straighter. "By the right of adoption, I can make any being a temporary citizen for the purpose of serving as champion. Commander Chen, do you accept?" Marcus felt every eye in the tunnel staring at him. This was not what he had expected when he came to Zephyria asking for medical supplies. Now the fate of both their species might depend on his fighting skills. "I accept, Your Majesty," he said. Duke Vorthak laughed harshly. "Fine. I will enjoy killing this human in front of his friends. The combat will take place in the Crystal Arena, as tradition demands." 3 hours later, Marcus stood in the center of the most famous fighting arena in Zephyrian history. The Crystal Arena was carved from a single enormous crystal that amplified sound and light. Thousands of Zephyrians filled the seats, while millions more watched on communication networks across the planet. Marcus wore modified Zephyrian combat armor that Queen Lysara's technicians had adjusted to fit his human body. He carried both a traditional crystal sword and his own plasma rifle. The rules allowed each fighter to use weapons of their choice. Across the arena, Duke Vorthak looked like a warrior from ancient legends. His black crystal armor was covered with the symbols of old military victories. His sword had been in his family for generations, and his energy shield could deflect most weapons. "Citizens of Zephyria," the arena announcer's voice boomed across the crystal walls. "Today we witness a trial of sovereignty. Duke Vorthak challenges Queen Lysara's right to rule. Her champion, the human Marcus Chen, will fight for her honor." Marcus looked up at the royal viewing box where Queen Lysara sat with his team. She gave him a small nod of encouragement. "Are you ready to die, human?" Duke Vorthak called across the arena. "Are you ready to lose to a primitive species?" Marcus replied. The combat began with the sound of a crystal chime. Duke Vorthak immediately charged forward, his sword glowing with energy. Marcus rolled to the side and fired his plasma rifle, but the shots bounced off Duke Vorthak's shield. The Duke was faster and stronger than Marcus, with decades of combat training. His sword strikes came in perfect combinations that forced Marcus to retreat constantly. When Marcus tried to use his rifle, Duke Vorthak's shield protected him. When Marcus drew his crystal sword, the Duke's superior skill showed immediately. "You fight well for a primitive," Duke Vorthak taunted as he pressed his attack. "But you cannot win. Humans are too young, too weak to stand against Zephyrian might." Marcus was getting tired. Duke Vorthak's attacks were wearing him down, and he had taken several minor wounds. The crowd was cheering for their champion, expecting to see the human defeated quickly. But Marcus remembered what Queen Lysara had taught him about crystal technology during their time in the underground laboratory. The arena itself was made of living crystal, connected to the same network that powered all Zephyrian technology. During a brief break in the fighting, Marcus placed his hand on the arena floor and concentrated. He felt the crystal responding to his touch just as it had in the laboratory. Duke Vorthak attacked again, but this time Marcus was ready. Instead of trying to match the Duke's sword skills, Marcus used the arena itself as a weapon. He channeled energy through the crystal floor, creating barriers and obstacles that disrupted Duke Vorthak's perfect attacks. "Impossible," Duke Vorthak shouted. "You are not Zephyrian. You cannot control our crystals." "Maybe the crystals do not care what species I am," Marcus replied, dodging another sword strike. "Maybe they respond to intentions, not genetics." The battle became a strange dance of traditional swordplay and crystal manipulation. Marcus used human unpredictability and tactical thinking to turn the arena's features against his opponent. When Duke Vorthak expected him to retreat, Marcus attacked. When the Duke thought he had Marcus trapped, Marcus found new ways to use the environment. Finally, Marcus saw his chance. Duke Vorthak had backed him against one of the arena's power crystals, thinking he had won. But Marcus grabbed the crystal with both hands and channeled all its energy into a massive pulse that overloaded Duke Vorthak's shield and armor. Duke Vorthak fell to his knees, his weapons scattered across the arena floor. Marcus stood over him with his sword at the Duke's throat. "Yield," Marcus said firmly. "I yield," Duke Vorthak whispered. The arena erupted in cheers. Marcus had won the trial by combat, which meant Queen Lysara's right to rule was confirmed. More importantly, it meant the alliance between humans and Zephyrians could proceed. But as Marcus climbed out of the arena, Queen Lysara surprised him once again. "Citizens of Zephyria," she announced to the crowd, "you have seen today that humans are not our enemies, but potential allies of great worth. Commander Chen has proven himself worthy of our highest honors." She paused, and the arena fell silent. "By our ancient customs, a being who wins trial by combat to defend the crown may claim any reward within the sovereign's power to grant. Commander Chen, what do you ask of me?" Marcus looked up at Queen Lysara. He had expected to ask for the medical supplies his people needed, but something in her expression made him hesitate. "I ask only that our peoples become true friends and allies, Your Majesty." Queen Lysara smiled. "That is already granted, but I offer something more." She stood up so the entire arena could see her. "By the laws of our ancestors, I formally propose marriage to Marcus Chen, who has proven himself worthy in combat, courage, and honor." The arena went completely silent. Marcus felt his heart stop. Marriage to an alien queen. It would mean staying on Zephyria forever, becoming part of a completely different civilization. It would mean giving up his life on Earth, his military career, everything he had known. But it would also mean cementing the alliance between their species forever. It would mean helping to guide two civilizations toward a shared future. And if he was honest with himself, it would mean staying with someone he had grown to care about deeply. Queen Lysara was watching him with hope and fear in her crystal blue eyes. "Your Majesty," Marcus said slowly, "this is not a decision to make lightly." "I know," she replied softly. "I am asking you to choose between two worlds." Marcus looked out at the thousands of Zephyrians watching him, then up at his human teammates in the royal box. Captain Rodriguez gave him a small salute. Dr. Wright was grinning. Lieutenant Kim was wiping tears from her eyes. "If I accept," Marcus said, "it would not just be a marriage between two people. It would be a bridge between two species." "Yes," Queen Lysara said, "that is exactly what it would be." Marcus thought about all the challenges they would face. The cultural differences, the political complications, the simple fact that they were from different worlds. But he also thought about what they had accomplished together in just a few days. They had solved a conspiracy, prevented a war, and shown that humans and Zephyrians could work as partners. "Then I accept your proposal, Your Majesty," Marcus said. "On one condition." "Name it," Marcus smiled. "Call me Marcus. If we are going to be married, I think we can drop the formal titles when we are alone."